I told you to get out of the car. Do you hear me? Get out now!
What Officer Stone didn't know was that in the next 8 minutes, his routine assumption would transform into a federal incident involving the Department of Defense, the FBI's Cybercrimes Division, and a media firestorm that would force the resignation of Austin's police chief. He didn't know that the man he was pepper spraying through broken glass was Marcus Sterling, the 33-year-old founder and CEO of Aegis Corp, a multi-billion-dollar cybersecurity firm responsible for protecting classified government networks and the financial data of 17 of the world's largest banks. He didn't know that every second of his actions was being recorded in 4K resolution by a private security system designed to protect national secrets. And he certainly didn't know that the suspect he was dragging across shards of glass had the digital power to make his entire operational history visible to the public within hours. Marcus Sterling's story doesn't begin in a corporate boardroom or a venture capital pitch meeting. It begins in a forgotten pocket of North Austin, where zip codes determine life expectancy and where the sound of gunfire is as common as cicadas in summer. Born to a single mother who worked double shifts as a hospital custodian, Marcus grew up in a neighborhood where most kids his age were being scouted by gangs before they finished middle school. His mother, Patricia Sterling, made a decision that would alter the trajectory of her son's entire life. She took on a third job cleaning offices in the tech corridor and used her first paycheck to buy a salvaged laptop from a pawn shop. It was 7 years old, held together with electrical tape and missing 3 keys. Marcus was 11. While his classmates were playing basketball in courts surrounded by chain-link fences, Marcus taught himself to code. He started with basic HTML, moved to Python within months, and by age 13, he was reverse engineering malware samples he found on dark web forums just to understand how digital weapons functioned. His high school guidance counselor told him to be realistic about college and suggested trade school. Marcus applied to MIT anyway. He was rejected. He applied again the next year with a portfolio that included a custom-built encryption algorithm he'd designed to protect his mother's bank account from phishing attacks. MIT didn't just accept him. They offered him a full scholarship and a research position in their cybersecurity lab. His mother cried when she saw the acceptance letter. She had worked herself into chronic back pain and early arthritis so her son could have a chance she never had. Marcus promised her that one day, he would build something that mattered. At MIT, he wasn't just a student, he was the anomaly. Professors noticed that he could identify vulnerabilities in systems that seasoned professionals missed. By his junior year, he was being recruited by the NSA, Google, and defense contractors offering 6-figure salaries. He turned them all down. Marcus had a different vision. He wanted to build a company that protected the infrastructure everyone relied on but nobody saw, the servers that held medical records, the networks that transferred billions in transactions every second, the encrypted channels that kept government secrets out of foreign hands. At 24, with $15,000 in seed funding and a team of 3 former classmates working out of a shared apartment, Marcus launched Aegis Corp. The name was deliberate. In Greek mythology, the Aegis was a shield carried by Zeus, a symbol of protection so absolute that even the gods trusted it. Marcus wanted his company to be that shield for the digital age. The first 2 years were brutal. They lived on ramen and slept in the office. Investors dismissed them as too young and too ambitious. Then, a major financial institution suffered a data breach that exposed the personal information of 40 million customers. The breach happened because of a vulnerability Marcus had identified and reported 6 months earlier. Within a week, Aegis Corp had 12 new clients. By the time Marcus turned 30, Aegis Corp was valued at over $2 billion. The company employed over 400 engineers and had contracts with the Department of Defense, Homeland Security, and some of the largest corporations on the planet. Marcus himself held top-secret security clearances that required FBI background checks and polygraph examinations. He had access to classified systems that most elected officials would never see. Despite his wealth and status, Marcus remained grounded in a way that baffled Silicon Valley elites. He refused to move to San Francisco or New York. He stayed in Austin, the city where his mother still lived, and he made it a point to mentor young engineers from backgrounds like his own. Kids from neighborhoods where college seemed like a fantasy, and tech careers seemed reserved for people who didn't look like them. Marcus worked late most nights not because he had to, but because he genuinely loved solving problems that existed in invisible layers of code. On the night of the incident, he had just finished a 2-hour secure video conference with a team in London. They were coordinating a response to a ransomware threat targeting a European energy grid. The call ended at 11:27 p.m. Marcus sat in his car for a few minutes, reviewing encrypted notes on his tablet, parked in the spot that bore his title in bold white letters. The parking garage was not public. It was a gated private facility accessible only with biometric key cards. Every vehicle inside was registered to Aegis Corps employees or approved visitors. The entire structure was monitored by a security system Marcus had personally designed, a network of cameras equipped with facial recognition, motion sensors, and real-time alerts connected directly to a dedicated security operations center. Officer Garrett Stone had a very different background. He was a 6-year veteran of the Austin Police Department with a disciplinary record that included 2 formal reprimands for what Internal Affairs had delicately termed unwarranted field interviews. Both incidents involved black professionals stopped in the downtown corridor under vague justifications. In one case, Stone detained a cardiologist for matching the description of a robbery suspect, despite the fact that the actual suspect was 4 inches shorter and 30 pounds heavier. The union intervened both times. Stone kept his badge. He viewed himself as a proactive officer, someone willing to make the hard stops that others avoided. His social media accounts, later subpoenaed during the civil trial, revealed a pattern of sharing posts about urban crime and the need for aggressive policing in gentrified neighborhoods. Stone was patrolling the downtown district that Tuesday night when he noticed the entrance to the Aegis Corps garage was slightly ajar. A mechanical malfunction had prevented the gate from fully closing, a detail that would later become critical in the legal proceedings. Stone drove into the private garage without announcing himself, without calling for backup, and without any reported crime or emergency justification. He saw Marcus sitting in the driver's seat of a custom electric SUV, illuminated by the glow of a tablet screen. In Stone's mind, the scenario fit a profile: expensive vehicle, late hour, black male in a parking garage. He radioed dispatch and reported a possible vehicle theft in progress, despite having no evidence beyond his own assumption. Stone approached the vehicle on foot with his flashlight trained on Marcus. He did not knock on the window. He did not verbally identify himself as a police officer. Instead, he struck the driver's side window with his ASP baton, a collapsible steel weapon designed for impact. The glass exploded inward, showering Marcus with fragments. Stone screamed, "Get out of the stolen vehicle now!" Marcus, still holding his tablet, raised his hands and tried to explain that he was the CEO of the building and that the car was registered in his name. Stone's response was to deploy pepper spray directly into Marcus's face through the broken window. The chemical agent caused immediate incapacitation. Marcus couldn't see, couldn't breathe, and was choking on the fumes while shards of glass pressed into his arms and neck. Stone yanked the door open and dragged Marcus out of the vehicle by his jacket, forcing him face down onto the concrete floor of the garage. Marcus was wearing a lanyard with his encrypted key card clearly visible, the same card required to access the building and the executive floors. Stone ignored it. He placed his knee on Marcus's back, pressing down with his full body weight, a tactic that had become notorious in the deaths of multiple unarmed civilians across the country. Marcus, struggling to breathe through the pepper spray, managed to say, "Officer, you are currently on a private server's live stream. My security team has already notified the chief of police." Stone's response was chilling in its dismissiveness. He leaned down and said, "Tell it to the judge, Kingpin. You're going to the tank." What Stone failed to realize was that Marcus was not bluffing. The moment the window shattered, motion-activated cameras throughout the garage had begun recording. The footage was not stored on a local server that could be conveniently lost or corrupted. It was uploaded in real time to Aegis Corps' cloud infrastructure, the same system used to protect classified government data. Within 90 seconds of the initial assault, automated alerts had been sent to the company's chief security officer, the legal team, and a crisis management group that included former federal prosecutors. By the time Stone was handcuffing Marcus, 3 separate law firms had already been contacted and a forensic team was downloading every frame of video evidence. The legal violations in this encounter were not subtle. They were a textbook demonstration of constitutional abuse under color of law. The Fourth Amendment to the United States Constitution protects citizens from unreasonable searches and seizures. It requires that law enforcement have probable cause before detaining or searching an individual. Stone had no probable cause. He had an assumption based on race and location. Marcus was not committing a crime. He was not fleeing. He was sitting in his own vehicle, in his own parking spot on private property he owned. The act of entering the gated garage without a warrant, without exigent circumstances such as an act of emergency, and without any reported criminal activity constituted criminal trespass by a police officer, a violation so egregious that it rendered everything that followed legally indefensible. Stone's use of force escalated the situation into federal territory. When he shattered the car window without issuing a verbal command to exit, he committed destruction of private property. When he deployed chemical agents on a non-resisting individual, he violated use of force policies that require proportional response to actual threats. When he placed his knee on Marcus's back while Marcus was handcuffed and restrained, he used a tactic associated with positional asphyxiation, a method that had resulted in wrongful death lawsuits across the nation. Each of these actions violated 18 U.S.C. Section 242, a federal statute that criminalizes the deprivation of constitutional rights under color of law. This statute carries penalties of up to life imprisonment if the violation results in death, and up to 10 years if it involves the use of a dangerous weapon. The most damning detail was Stone's refusal to identify himself. When Marcus, through tears and choking from the pepper spray, asked for Stone's badge number and name, Stone responded with silence and increased pressure on Marcus's back. This violated departmental policy and state law requiring officers to provide identification upon request during any official interaction. It also demonstrated a consciousness of wrongdoing, a legal term indicating that Stone knew his actions could not withstand scrutiny. The footage from the garage cameras was released to the media within 18 hours. It went viral within minutes. The imagery was undeniable: a black CEO in a business suit, bleeding from glass cuts, gasping for air while a white officer kneeled on him in a parking spot labeled with his own title. The optics were catastrophic for a city that prided itself on being a progressive tech hub. Protests erupted outside City Hall. Tech companies threatened to relocate. The Department of Defense initiated a security review of Aegis Corps to ensure that the incident had not compromised any classified operations. The FBI opened a civil rights investigation. My mother told me that stories like this only happen to people who don't have power, people who can't fight back, people whose names never make the news. But Marcus Sterling had something that most victims of police violence don't have. He had resources, he had evidence, and he had a platform. If you believe that accountability should not depend on wealth or status, if you believe that the law should protect everyone equally, then understand that this case only reached justice because one man refused to let it disappear. Subscribe if you believe the system can change when people with power choose to burn it all down to rebuild it right. The settlement came swiftly. The city of Austin, facing a lawsuit that included not only Marcus but also a class action component representing other victims of Garrett Stone's previous stops, agreed to pay $3.2 million. The amount was not arbitrary. It included compensation for physical injuries, emotional distress, damage to Marcus's professional reputation, and punitive damages designed to deter future misconduct. Marcus made an announcement that shocked both his legal team and the public. He stated that he would not keep a single dollar of the settlement. Every cent would be donated to the creation of the Sterling Legal Defense Fund, an organization that would provide free legal representation to individuals who could not afford to fight back against police misconduct. Stone's termination was immediate. Within 48 hours of the footage being released, the Austin police chief held a press conference and announced that Garrett Stone had been fired for cause. The statement cited a total lack of probable cause, catastrophic judgment, and violations of departmental policies so severe that reinstatement was impossible. The police union attempted to intervene, but the video evidence was insurmountable. Stone's personnel file, released during discovery in the civil case, revealed a pattern of racial profiling that the department had ignored for years. Internal emails showed supervisors expressing concerns about Stone's aggressive tactics in minority neighborhoods, but taking no disciplinary action beyond verbal warnings. The criminal charges followed. Stone was indicted on 2 felony counts: official oppression, a state charge that criminalizes the abuse of governmental authority, and assault with a deadly weapon. The deadly weapon in question was the baton used to shatter the car window, which prosecutors argued had been deployed with the intent to cause harm and terrorize. The pepper spray deployment was classified as chemical assault under Texas law. Stone's defense team argued that he believed he was investigating a legitimate crime, but the absence of any articulable facts to support that belief destroyed their case. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. Stone was convicted on both counts and sentenced to 3 years in state prison. The fallout extended beyond Stone himself. His conviction triggered his placement on a national database known informally as the Brady List, a registry of law enforcement officers with sustained findings of dishonesty or serious misconduct. Officers on this list are considered unreliable witnesses in criminal prosecutions, effectively ending their ability to work in law enforcement anywhere in the country. Stone became one of the youngest officers ever placed on this list, a permanent mark that would follow him for the rest of his life. The total financial cost to the city exceeded $5 million when legal fees, internal investigations, and the implementation of mandated reforms were included. The Sterling incident, as it became known in policy circles, forced the passage of the Digital Accountability and Private Property Act, a legislative package that fundamentally changed how police interact with private commercial spaces. The act established the Private Property Shield, a rule prohibiting officers from entering gated facilities without a verified emergency call or a judicially approved warrant. Violations result in immediate suspension and termination for repeat offenses. The most innovative reform was the LiDAR verification rule. Every patrol vehicle in Austin was equipped with license plate recognition technology that automatically cross-references vehicle registrations with a database of business owners and executives in high-security zones. If an officer runs a plate and the system indicates the vehicle belongs to a CEO, executive, or other authorized individual in a private facility, the officer receives an automatic alert warning against unwarranted stops. The system was designed to prevent exactly the kind of assumption-based policing that destroyed Stone's career. The final component of the DAPA reforms was the Transparency Portal, a public database that lists every use of force settlement paid by the city, including the names of officers involved, the amounts paid, and the nature of the misconduct. The database ended the practice of burying settlements in confidential agreements and shielding repeat offenders from public accountability. Within the first year of operation, the portal revealed that the city had paid over $14 million in settlements involving just 12 officers, prompting a wave of terminations and policy overhauls. Marcus Sterling returned to work 3 weeks after the incident. He gave a single interview to a national news network in which he stated that he did not want to be defined by what happened to him, but he refused to let it be forgotten. He expanded Aegis Corps' community outreach programs and personally funded coding boot camps in underserved neighborhoods across Texas. He became a vocal advocate for criminal justice reform, testifying before Congress on the need for federal standards and police accountability. Officer Garrett Stone is currently serving his sentence at a state correctional facility. He will be eligible for parole after 18 months. His law enforcement career is over. His conviction ensures he will never carry a badge again. The Sterling incident is now taught in police academies as a case study in how assumptions, unchecked authority, and racial bias can destroy lives and careers in minutes. The parking spot where it all began still bears the words "Reserved CEO" in bold white letters, a reminder that power, when used correctly, can dismantle the very systems designed to protect those who abuse it.